What is going on, everybody? In my last video, we did bodywork for the first time ever in our lives, and it actually turned out really good. If you watch to the end of the video, you'll notice that the body filler that was on the front bumper was really, really wet. And I didn't use enough hardener like I thought when I was putting it on. I said it looks a little light, but we'll see how it goes. I waited about an hour when it should only take about 15 minutes to harden, and it was still wet. So I had to go ahead and rip all that back off. But off camera, I redid all the bodywork on the front, reinforced all the plastic welds on the back, and this bumper is now just about 100% straight with zero dings, dents, nicks, scratches, anything in it. So all that needs is primer. And now we're gonna move on to the rest of the car. And this is the part that kind of scares me, because these panels are a lot more expensive than that singular bumper if I am to mess this up. Everything can be fixed, new panels can be bought, whatever. But I am nervous because this is like the side of the car that everybody's gonna look at when it's fully wrapped and done. So we need to make sure that it looks good. There's really 4 main problem areas on this car. There's one right there. The paint is cracked underneath. And then on the door, right there, and then on the back door, there's 3 or 4. So there's gonna be a lot of body work on this side of the car. On the other side, on the passenger side, there's only 1 dent. And I think that dent can be PDR'd out because it's just a tiny little scuff with a dent, so I don't think it's gonna be an issue. So this is my main area of focus right here today. I'm probably gonna do this part and the door. I think how I'm gonna go about it a little differently than the front, because the front was plastic. So I'm gonna take some sandpaper and I'm gonna sand out, probably on the DA, sand out the area on the body line that is dented, get that feathered out, and then we can go ahead and lay down our body filler after everything's clean and wait for that to dry. And once that dries, we can go ahead and start sanding and reshaping that body line and making it perfect again. That's the goal. We'll see if it works that way. All right, so there is our dent and our low spots and all that stuff that was in here, as well as some of our high spots. I tapped a few of them back in so that they became lower spots than what they were. I'm not a master. Honestly, don't know what I'm doing, but we're just kind of figuring it out as we go. But I think the main goal of right now is I have this kind of where I want it. I don't feel anything high or anything like that. So I think what I'm going to do from here is grab some body filler and pretty much just start at this top edge right here. I don't want to go into this body line. The only body line I want to mess with is this one right here. We can go ahead and try and sand it down the best of our ability to make this body line perfect, because it is a pretty soft body line, unlike this one that's really hard. So we need to go ahead and fill this in and pray to God that we know what we're doing. At least a little bit. If we know what we're doing at least a little bit, this will work. Kind of know what I'm doing with this stuff now. All right, so there we have our body filler on there. That needs to harden up. I got it as best as I could to follow that body line, so we're gonna have to shape it, and we might have to fill it up with glaze as well, just to get that body line perfectly sharp as it needs to be. But that has a 15-minute cure time, so I'm gonna open the doors, get some stink out, and let that cure for 15 minutes, and then we're gonna hit that with 150 grit to knock it down, and then we'll finish it out with either 220 or 320 just to get that body line shaped nicely so we don't take off too much product at once. Alright, so it's pretty much dry now, so let's go ahead and see if we can make this body line nice, or if I just absolutely ruined my fender. I'm hoping for the latter, but yeah. It is what it is. Alright, so we got our body line back. There's some pinholes, obviously from some air bubbles that got in here. I got it perfectly smooth on the body line. You can feel the body line. It looks like it was factory. Looks pretty good. So what we're going to do is we're going to mix up some of the U-pole glaze with some of the hardener. And we're going to glaze this whole thing up even wider, fill in all these pinholes, and really try to accentuate this body line to make it match over here. This guy right here, which is a pretty dull body line, and it goes pretty dull into pretty hard. We just need to keep that dull body line curve pretty much. Alright, so that's going to be the same process. It's going to be a 15-minute cure time. And then we're going to really just hone in with a little higher grit sandpaper to accentuate that body line right there. So it curves all the way back into that one right there. This should be a pretty simple process. Just getting the line perfect is really kind of what takes the hardest amount of time. And a curved line is probably the hardest line to accomplish this on. But we're going to do our best. We'll see how it goes, and I'm optimistic, but you never know. Could look like crap, and then we're going to have to get carbon fenders. That might be cool. But let's wait this 15 minutes, and then we'll do some sanding and see what it looks like. Alright, so there is pretty much a finished bodywork product in my eyes. You can see the line all the way through. It's relatively straight. It's about as straight and perfect as I can get it. I think the only thing is I'm going to do a little bit more work right here, just to get that edge a little more fine. I do still have a pinhole here, so I think I'm going to mix up just a little bit more of the glaze and get it in there and get that sanded off. It's just going to be a tiny dollop, probably about that much, so it'll be pretty easy to get out. And then hit these bare spots up just to make sure everything's good on that front. But the body line looks really good. It'll look even better when it's in primer. I know it's kind of hard to tell with the black and then the tan and the primer and all that stuff on there. So once we get that primed up, it'll look pretty good. Do have just a couple more to do, and then she'll be pretty well perfect. We need to move on from this to the door. So let's start knocking out this door. Alright, so while I was finishing up this side of the car, I did go ahead and sand out as much rust as I could see along this ridge line where the window meets the roof. So everything looks pretty good here. So I'm just gonna hit it with a primer real quick, just so that the rust doesn't come back. And once the primer is set and dry, we can go ahead and sand it and body fill that, make sure that's perfect. And then the last piece to the puzzle is gonna be this little piece of rust right here on this roof. It just shows you how long this Suvi's been sitting. This thing needs a bath bad, so when this tune comes in, we can pull it out and give it a bath. But let's get some primer on this guy so we can make sure this rust is completely stopped and doesn't come back. Alright, when doing this rust repair here, this is just black primer, so it needs to get sanded, so it's going to have like a hard tape line. So once that dries, we'll get that sanded, ready to go. But in doing that, I ran across a couple more rust spots on the roof. And then upon further investigation, there's actually quite a few more. So this roof is pretty rusty. There's another one right there. I don't know if you can see it. Another one right there. So, one right there. And then another one up there. So, I don't know if it's even worth the hassle to get this roof rust free, or to just buy like a carbon roof and do a carbon roof on it. Grind all the spot welds out of this one, pop it off, and put on a panel bonded carbon one on there. Who knows? I'm going to look at the prices on that and see if we can do that, make that work. But for the time being, we're going to fill these rust spots that I have here so it doesn't get worse, and then kind of go from there. Alright, so I got these 3 spots filled in on the roof here, and I got the rust fixed along the crease of this roof. But I don't think I'm going to waste any more energy on this roof tonight. I'm going to do some research and look into a carbon roof and see if that is probably a better fit for what we're trying to do right now. A little more invasive. Obviously, we're going to have to pull the rear window and the front window most likely to be able to get the roof out. If this roof is going to be too much work for rust repair, if it's already too far gone, which I don't necessarily think it's too far gone, I just think it's going to be a lot more work than what we've already done so far. And, the risk to reward factor. Is it going to be worth it to fix this roof? If we're going to wrap the car anyways, would it look better with a carbon roof that we don't have to worry about rust with the wrap that we're going with? Or save money and hash it out and do what we, have been doing this whole time and save this roof. But I don't know. I'm going to look into it tonight, and I'll get back with you guys in the next video on that aspect. But here we have most of the finished bodywork on this side of the car. All we have left to do is a little bit on the hood, along like right there. There's another chip over there. And then we have all of the rock chips along the front, which this whole thing will probably just get sanded down and glazed, so that'll be pretty easy to do. Be a lot of sanding. We did have one big dent on this side. I got it popped out as much as I could and then filled the rest of the way, so that should be good. The rest of the side is really straight. Front bumper is complete. That's ready for primer. Now the doors just need to get scuffed around where I'm going to prime these, and then obviously just prime them. And then one last one that I filled is in this door right here. So now, hypothetically speaking, this car is completely straight. I got all the body lines squared away on everything. Every time you get a door ding, it's most likely on the body line, and that sucks. But if you take your time, you can do it. But I think that's where I'm going to wrap up today's video, is finishing up the bodywork here. This needs to get primed, and then we'll be in business to start wrapping and getting everything set up that way. Tune should be coming in here soon. My tuner is a little backlogged, so it's going to take some time to get what we need to get this car running and driving, but obviously in the meantime, we're going to make everything perfect to the best of our ability. The work doesn't stop when you're waiting on something. There's always something else to do. But with that being said, I'm going to wrap it up right here. I appreciate everybody watching to the end of this video. It means the world. Stay tuned for next video. It should be good. We're going to hop into a lot more in the next video. But until then, I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.